Still me. Still me. I appreciate the security, but sometimes I would just prefer if I didn't have to do this all the time. All right. Yes, that's me. That is my account. It's me. Oh snap! Did I do a last second? Oh no. Yeah, that's why. Trying to figure out where my microphone was. There we go. Gotta have that set up. Making sure my sound is on. I hope I do not sound weird because, again, using this soundboard has been kind of iffy at times. Still trying to learn it. Don't want to do what I did last time. What's going on? Give me a second here, everyone, as we are getting set up because we got a conversation. We got a conversation that needs to be had. All right. Let me get some things set up here. Make sure everything's all good. There we go. Trying to go here. Make sure that's up. Yep. Dang. I ain't gonna lie, low-key took this. I might use this for a video thumbnail. That's a different conversation for a different time. This thing is glowing. Really like it. That's a different conversation for a different time. Anyway, I need to make sure everything is okay here. We are good. Stream is fine. Yeah, I think we are good to go. Shouldn't take too long. We are here. We are active. We are live. You know what? Let me do this one last thing. I know you're gonna ask for it, so where can I? Wow. Okay. Oh, okay. Did not realize that was on. I can do this. All right. There we go. No. Whoa. That's good. Oh man. Okay. That. There we go. Have that there as a little addition. And other than that, we should be good. We are kind of good to go. As I get ready, what's going on, everybody in the chat? I'm getting ready to answer some questions there, and then we're going to get started with what we got to talk about today. Because I have missed some stuff, obviously. So let's see here. Honestly, I think we're good to go from here. We could just get started. I think everything's set up. No problems, no issues. You can hear me clearly. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. What's up, guys? It has been a while. It's been a few days. Obviously, I was not here to stream the Commanders and the Ravens final preseason game. And if you've been on the channel last year, you would know exactly why. If I'm not here streaming, especially during football, probably because I'm at the Commanders Stadium. So, yeah, I wasn't here to stream the Ravens and Commanders game because I was at the Ravens and Commanders game. So, it just worked out like that. But yeah, I didn't have, I wasn't able to do that. And then the last couple days, I've just been getting prepared. I mean, the season kicks off in 10 days. I got to get prepared, got to get my wings out in terms of commentary and live streaming and analysis and breakdowns. There's so much happening here. We miss football. We all miss football. But once you get to that final week before football really kicks off, before the regular season's here, you got so much you've got to do that you got to prepare for all of this to kick off. Because it's like, once the season starts, we're here, we're in it. Once the Eagles and once the Eagles and the Cowboys step foot on that field on Thursday night, it's over. And once we get to Sunday, we're in it. Once you get that week 1 matchup, once week 1 is in the books, we are in it till February, okay? It is August 25th. We got 10 days left, okay? 10 days. Once game 1 of the NFL season kicks off, we are locked in until February. So I got a few things I want to do this season. There's some other stuff I got on the sideline that I'm trying to do. There's one thing I want to have something here consistent on a weekly basis that I'm trying to get going, but I have a few things I got to do. So I was kind of gone the last couple days. Personal things, life struggles, the usuals, preparation. So that's where I was the last couple days, because I realized I actually haven't uploaded since like Thursday. I don't think I uploaded since we got the Lamar Jackson injury stuff. So I've kind of been busy with that. Anywho, well, actually, technically I did have an upload, but I had to delete that. The file got corrupted. Some issues there. It is what it is. Anyway, you're not here to listen to me ramble on about corrupted files and all that other stuff. We are here to talk about the Ravens. The countdown to week 1 is here, guys. We've got 10 days before the season kicks off. And we got some things to talk about. First thing I want to do is kind of take a look at some of the things that occurred in the preseason game, because tomorrow's going to be the overall aspect. I believe by tomorrow, by 4 p.m., the 53-man roster will ultimately be decided. So there's going to be some tough cuts, which is why I want to go back and look at the final preseason game, because I feel like there's 3 names that everybody's speaking of that we all feel should make the team because of how they've played. So brief recap, because I didn't have a recap video about it. Brief recap of the final preseason game. Ravens did dominate the Commanders 30-3. It was a complete stomping. Not too much to see from here. Cooper Rush honestly played exactly the way he needed to play. Cooper Rush played the exact way we would need him to play if he was to come in during fourth quarters. Don't do anything dumb. Don't put the ball at risk. Run the ball. Check it down. Take nice, simple, easy throws. Simplify the offense. We don't need to get crazy here. If Cooper Rush had to come in during the fourth quarter, that's what he'd be doing. If there was some other reason other than that, which, of course, we don't expect that to be the case, what he did against the Commanders, just handing the ball off, simple, quick throws, that's all he got to do. That was the best we saw from Cooper Rush. He, for sure, is going to be our backup quarterback. When we get that list tomorrow, he's going to be the backup. That's not going to change. What he did against the Commanders on Saturday solidifies him at that spot for the most part. He's going to be the backup quarterback this upcoming season. Yes, Tyler Huntley was released. No, the Ravens are probably not going to bring him back. It's a possibility, but they have no reason to bring him back. They're going to go with Cooper Rush as their backup quarterback. I'd be shocked if they release him and then say, let's go get Tyler Huntley back. They're going to keep Cooper Rush as their backup. So he did what he needed to do. Devin Leary, man, 17-23, 71 yards passing. I wish you the best of luck, my guy. I don't know if you're going to be on a roster somewhere, but you are not making this squad. I don't know if you're going to survive this league, bro. Best of luck to you. That's all I'm going to say for that. Best of luck to you, my guy. That's all I got to say. Running game was actually really good. Rashid Ali is going to be on this roster. Harbaugh's all but confirmed that. Rashid Ali is going to be on this roster. He's going to make the 53-man squad. He looked great in that game against the Commanders on Saturday. D'Ernest Johnson also looked great as well. He was running the ball well. Obviously he's not going to make the roster, but he might be one of those guys whose names is going to be mentioned in the practice squad, because the Ravens do like to have at least one of those backs in their practice squad. So I think D'Ernest Johnson, he's played well this preseason. He'll probably be one of those guys that could end up on the practice squad. If the numbers don't match, ultimately they'll just move on past that, but I think he's got a shot. Not too much here from the receivers, because again, look who was throwing them the ball. LeJohntay Wester, obviously he's going to be on the roster. I don't know what he's going to ultimately do. in terms of where he's going to be ranked. Will he be wide receiver 5, wide receiver 6? I don't know how many wide receivers the Ravens are going to keep. It's going to be very interesting, but Wester's going to be on the team for sure. Western absolutely is going to be on the team for sure. Other than that, I'm not gonna lie. You're looking at a lot of these guys. Dayton Wade, which we do have to talk about that because I actually have some updates in regards to some injuries that happened, which we'll be going to next. But yeah, Dayton Wade, I don't exactly know. Um, I don't know where some of these guys are gonna ultimately rank and where they're gonna ultimately land. But nothing to really see from these receivers. At the end of the day, I think Baltimore is going to keep 6 receivers at the very least. So you've got Flowers, you've got Bateman, you've got D Hop. Those are your main 3. Um, of course, if you've seen what's happened, what's his Tylan Wallace is gonna be a reliable guy that they consistently believe in. He's done more than enough to at least be in that wide receiver 4 spot. He's going to be here. 5th receiver would probably be Tez Walker because he's impressed all throughout camp and he's been that guy there. So that's gonna be wide receiver number 5. Number 6 is gonna be tough. LeJohntay Western will probably be more of a return specialist. He'll be at that returner spot, so I don't think he's going to take over a wide receiver spot. But if we're gonna be honest, that 6th spot's probably gonna go to Miller. I think that's ultimately what's going to be the case. Miller's probably going to be the one to ultimately take that last spot. He's already been somebody that's at least been somewhat productive when they've had to call his name. So Anthony Miller is probably going to be it. So if they're going to keep 6 receivers, I think it's going to be Flowers, Bateman, D Hop, Wallace, Walker, and then Miller. And then you could look at this situation where LeJohntay Western is just more of a returner, but could see the field as a receiver. So that's something that could also be aspect. So yeah, Tyler Wallace also plays a special team. So Western's gonna be there. He'd be the quote unquote 7th receiver, but he and Wallace they share special teams duties. So yeah, Western's gonna be on the squad as well. He'll make the 53-man roster. Other than that, Keith Kirkwood, Scotty Washington, those are guys that are probably gonna be Malik Cunningham. You're probably looking more towards practice squad for those guys. Defensively, again, in this, but which by the way, none of these guys really did anything spectacular in terms of receiving because they have horrible quarterbacks throwing to them. And Cooper Rush is not horrible, but Cooper Rush made sure to do exactly what he's going to do if he's coming in as a backup. Don't do anything stupid. Don't launch the ball down the field. Check the ball down. Be smart. Just get in the hands of the skill position players. Don't need to do anything special. Run the football. Devin Leary's not great, so there's nothing these receivers could have done there. Let's get to the defensive side. I gotta say this right now. This right here was the best performance by Trenton Simpson. This was the best performance by Trenton Simpson in that final preseason game. He's actually done a really good job throughout preseason, and at least he's made plays in about every game. But this was the best out of him. I mean, the guy was everywhere. He's responsible for creating 2 turnovers. He had the tip pass that got intercepted, and then he caused the fumble. I mean, this guy was great. If Trent Simpson has started to really get it together and click, this is going to be fantastic because we know Simpson is going to be the starter. He's going to be right next to Roquan Smith. So Simpson has to get himself going. And if he's starting to click up here and he's starting to make those plays on the field, then Trent Simpson will be set up to have a really, really, really productive season. And we're hoping that's the case. Other than that, Jalen Armour-Davis, again, we knew this guy was talented. The problem is he just can't stay healthy. If Armour-Davis is on the field, he's a playmaker. He's going to do things. We know what he's capable of if he has the opportunity to get on the field. TJ Tampa. Love what I'm seeing from TJ Tampa all season long. Well, all preseason long. I've loved what I'm seeing from TJ Tampa throughout the preseason and throughout training camp. I love what I'm seeing from TJ Tampa. He's been great. He's going to make the roster as well. Other than that, there was not too much here. Mike Green, I'm excited to see what Mike Green can do once week 1 starts and he can actually really go at these quarterbacks. Aeneas Peebles, interested in seeing how he's going to look. Malik Ham, also great as well. David Ojabo, we're going to have a conversation about him because I don't know if he's going to make this roster. Then again, with some of the injuries that have recently happened, David Ojabo could potentially sneak in. Brian, I'm gonna get to some of these comments. Brian, I just mentioned Trenton Simpson because he just had his best performance in that preseason game against the Commanders. He's the man responsible for 2 of the turnovers. He tipped the first interception of the game. He tipped that pass that got picked off, and then he caused the strip sack that was recovered. So this guy throughout the preseason has been making plays. But then the other guy you just mentioned has looked great out there, which brings me to the 3 guys I wanted to mention that really, really took over for me and ultimately was the conversation starter for this game and the conversation starter for the preseason in terms of which undrafted free agents are going to make this squad. The Ravens have done it again. The Ravens have done it again. And I think this year might be one of the strongest undrafted free agents they've brought in. Jay Higgins, Keon Martin, Ruben Lowry. In my opinion, based on the reports that we've heard about these 3 making plays throughout training camps, and based off the performances that these 3 players have put up throughout the preseason, based off the training camp and the performance, Ruben Lowry, Keon Martin, Jay Higgins, all 3 of these guys should make the roster. I'm not the only one that believes that. All 3 of these guys should make the roster. Just based off of what they've done in the preseason and what they've done throughout training camp. Those 3 guys have consistently had their names called because they're making plays. Higgins has looked great out there. He's made plays as a linebacker. Great tackling. Had an interception. Had a deflection that ended the game. He was the star of that game against the Colts because he ended that game. Ruben Lowry's been making plays throughout the preseason and throughout training camp with multiple interceptions. Keon Martin, we just saw what he did. All 3 of these guys have consistently made plays. They've consistently shown up and made an impact both in practice and in the preseason games. I believe all 3 of those guys should be on the 53-man roster. But realistically, I don't know if they're going to do so. 2 of the 3 will probably make the 53-man roster, and 1 of them will end up on the practice squad, which means they're going to be picked up because all 3 of them were so damn good that if you don't put them on your team, you don't put them on the roster, they're getting picked up from the practice squad. But those 3 guys, they really stood out. And it was great to see the defense do what they did. By the way, again, this preseason, not gonna read too much into it, but I gotta give credit to Zachary Orr's defense. I mean, Zachary Orr's defense, they showed up. Zachary Orr's defense showed up. In the 3 games, they gave up 16 points to the Colts, 13 points to the Cowboys, and 3 points to the Commanders. And in those 3 games, they've accumulated, 7 turnovers? Let me see. Against the Commanders, they created 4 turnovers against the Commanders, 2 against the Cowboys, and 1 against the Colts, I believe. So they created 7 turnovers in 3 preseason games. That needs to carry itself to the season. Zachary Orr's defense in 3 preseason games created 7 turnovers and gave up, let me see. They gave up 32 points, I believe. 16, 19. They gave up 32 points in 3 games. In 3 games, Zachary Orr's defense gave up 32 points and created 7 turnovers. That needs to translate to the regular season, especially with the talent that is on this roster. Now we can switch gears. I wanted to speak briefly about the preseason because I wanted to mention some of the guys that did stand out and guys that could potentially make the roster, like the 3 undrafted free agents I talked about. And I hope they make the roster, but we'll find out tomorrow. Now we can switch gears to where we are now. So I've got some reports here in regards to some injuries that need to be specified, as well as some early cuts. There are some early cuts here that need to be expressed. First, let's start with the cuts. So, first of all, a few cuts that happened early on. I'm trying to see. First one was, where is it? first one was, wow, I'm trying to look for it. First one was undrafted free agent offensive tackle Reed Hulsky. He was one of the cuts. A few more cuts that also occurred today. Another cornerback MJ Devonshire, tight end Baylor Cup. Couple moves right here. So those were the guys that were cut. But they still got to make 33 other moves by 4 p.m. tomorrow. So we'll be back tomorrow here to talk about the official cuts. The official 53-man roster and the individuals that got cut and some of them that are ultimately going to move to the practice squad and how that's going to go, as well as the guys that are going to be on IR. In terms of injuries, we do have a few injuries here, and Harbaugh again specified that. So, wide receiver Xavier Guillory, he broke his clavicle, so that's not a good thing. Wide receiver Dayton Wade, he had surgery on his ribs. That's also not good. Both of them suffered those injuries in the game against Commanders on Saturday. So those are just two injuries to look out for. Don't really expect any one of those guys to really do anything in terms of, Wade's probably going to be on the practice squad, but I don't know about Guillory. But yeah, just a few injuries to speak of there. Harbaugh was also asked about one specific individual. Actually, he was asked about two other individuals. A few. First of all, Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews didn't practice with the team today. Mark Andrews was on the sideline doing his own thing. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with him, but yeah. Mark Andrews was on the sideline doing his own thing. I hope he's okay. Chidobe Awuzie was also not at practice today. He's also going through something as well. He was doing some workouts alongside Andrews. They were going through some workouts, some individual workouts. So both Andrews and Awuzie, they did not practice with the team today. Patrick Ricard is still out. I believe they said he's dealing with a hamstring. So yeah, he's not practicing with the team as well. And of course, the name everybody is bringing up right now, Jaire Alexander. Jaire Alexander has not practiced since August 9th. I believe that's the last day he practiced. He has not practiced since August 9th. Harbaugh reported that he's dealing with the same thing he's been dealing with for years now, that knee. So it's related to his knee. I'm guessing it's some issues in regards to some swelling, which is causing him to be out for this long. And of course, the Ravens are not going to put him out there. They're going to be extra precautious. So they're going to take cautionary action when it comes to Jaire, and they're not going to risk him in these practices. So Jaire, who has not practiced since August 9th, once again is out of practice. Once again, he was out today. He did not practice. Harbaugh reported that, but he also made sure to say that Jaire Alexander is also doing some individual work, and he's pushing to return to practice. So the hope is that Jaire Alexander will return to practice at some point, and there's hope that he'll be ready for week 1, but he has to practice. Practice this week is going to be very short. They're going to practice. They practice today. They're going to practice Tuesday. They're going to practice Wednesday. They got 4 days off. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they're not going to practice. So they're practicing 3 days this week. They're going to have 4 days off. And then Monday is full-on preparation for week 1. So I'm going to sit back and say this. In regards to Jaire Alexander, if he's not on that practice field Monday, he's not playing week 1 against the Bills. If I know he could still technically, if he's there by Wednesday, if he's practicing by like Wednesday, he could make it. But in my belief, you've got to give him a full week worth of practice. Like, you're gonna practice, I believe, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you're off, Sunday you play the game. So I'm thinking he's got to practice at least 3 days. He's got to have at least 3 days of practice before the game. So if Jaire Alexander does not practice by next Monday, I don't think he's playing against the Bills week 1. So that's just my personal opinion. But I do not know how the Ravens are going to go about it. Personally, I believe Jaire is just going to be a piece that's utilized here and there. We all knew about his injury history. We knew the guy we were getting when we signed him. When he's on the field, he's one of the best in the game. But his injury history has caused him to miss so much time. We knew that. We didn't sign Jaire for September through December. We signed Jair for January and hopefully February. So as long as he can get through this season, even if he's banged up and he's got to miss time throughout the year, if Jair can just get to January healthy, we're good. We're not concerned about what he's doing September through December. This team's good enough to get to the playoffs without Jair being a major factor in the defense. But come January, he's got to be out there. So that's where the mindset is. They're just going to have to be very cautious as to how they handle the Jair Alexander situation. But right now, he's not practicing. He hasn't practiced since August 9th. And he's working towards getting back to practice, but we have no idea how that's going to work. Also, Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely is still going through the motions. Harbaugh said he expects him to play next week, and the hope is that if Isaiah Likely can get back to practice next week, the hope and belief is he'll be good to go and play in that game week 1 against the Bills. So my assessment about it is that if somehow Isaiah Likely gets on that practice field Monday, they're going to give him a shot for week 1 against the Buffalo Bills. I would take a level of caution, but again, it's up to them. As for Jair, if he doesn't step foot on that field on Monday, he's not playing against the Bills. That's just how I feel how it's going to be. I don't think they're going to put him out there if he only has 1 or 2 days of practice. At least 3 days of practice, and he's good. But if he does not show up on that practice field Monday, do not expect Jair Alexander out there in Buffalo for week 1. He'll be on the sidelines. That's just how I see it. But yeah, that's pretty much all the updates I have in regards to some of the recent actions as well. Of course he did. Of course he did. Of course he did. Oy. But yeah, that's pretty much the aspect of some of the updates here. Now let's actually really focus in on talking about the countdown towards week 1. But before we continue that, I'm going to take a look at some of your comments here because I can see there's a few comments here and I'm going to answer some of these questions. What is going on, Chars? Do you think we keep 8 cornerbacks? Alexander, Humphrey, Wiggins, Awuzie, Armour Davis, TJ Tampa, Lowry, and Martin? Chars, I think it's a high possibility we do because Awuzie and Alexander, both of them are very injury prone, and right now both of them aren't even practicing. So I think it's very possible. You're gonna need to make sure you have TJ Tampa out there. Armour Davis also has injury issues as well, so you're gonna want to keep these guys. So Chars, yes. I think the possibility is there. We'll see with the 53-man roster, but I think it's a relatively high possibility that the Ravens could end up keeping 7 or 8 cornerbacks just because a good chunk of their cornerbacks do have an injury history and some injury issues. Awuzie, Armour Davis, and Alexander all have an injury history. And because of that, I think it's possible that they will keep 7 or 8 cornerbacks just to be on the precaution side because they don't want to put too much on Jair and too much on Awuzie, knowing their injury history. So I think that's possible. It's beat the Chiefs in the playoffs to get to the Super Bowl or bust. That's the only way to get there. We'll worry about the Chiefs when we face off against them in week 4. And if we were to get to January and we were to match up with the Chiefs, we'll talk about that there. But we're in August right now. We can't be worried about beating the Chiefs in the playoffs. The playoffs don't start tomorrow. The playoffs start in January, which is 5 months away. We can't be talking about things that are going to potentially happen in January. We're in August right now, getting ready for September. So the next time we'll be talking about the Kansas City Chiefs will be week 4 when we match up against them. It's the preseason, I know, but Kansas City, why don't you blow out that? Why do you blow that 20-point lead to the Bears, knowing y'all? Not gonna lie, the Chiefs are not worried about blowing a 20-point lead to the Bears in a preseason game. Okay, they don't care. It's not something that's effective. Obviously, you don't want to lose, and those guys are competitors. And a lot of those guys were fighting for their jobs, so it's not a good look. It's not a good look for the backups to really blow a 20-point lead. but I don't think many of the starters are looking at that and saying, "Man, we really blew that. It's gonna make us look weak." Kansas City still runs the AFC. I don't think anybody's looking at that and saying, "Oh man, Kansas City is going to be nasty this year." I don't know if I trust them. I do not know if I trust them. So I'm not worried about them blowing a preseason lead. What's going on, Daniel? It's saying the colors are purple and blue, aka Ravens and Lions Super Bowl. Yeah, I'm not really interested in those, predictions. I'm pretty sure in 2023 there was some purple and red there, which made it seem like it was going to be the Ravens and Niners, and we saw how that turned out. What's going on, Sam? Appreciate you stopping by. Shiloh Sanders was cut, but Shedeur made the Browns roster. Well, they haven't completely brought out the 53-man roster just yet, so we don't know. First of all, we heard that the Browns were going to keep three. We heard the Browns were going to keep 4 quarterbacks. 24 hours later, after hearing, they've been reporting that the Browns, they're going to probably keep 4 quarterbacks. We're going to look to keep 4 quarterbacks. It's going to be Flacco. It's going to be Pickett. It's going to be Gabriel. And it's going to be Shedeur. Next thing you know, Kenny Pickett gets traded to the Raiders. So I'm not looking at that and saying everything is set in stone. Now, I don't think they're going to cut Shedeur, nor do I think they're going to cut Gabriel. I think they're going to stick with those 3 quarterbacks. But let's just pump the brakes a little and wait to see what happens when that roster comes out. But the expectation is Shedeur is going to make it. As for Shiloh, I mean, he didn't really do much in the preseason. I hope he gets another chance somewhere else. According to what he put on film and what he did out there in the preseason games, it wasn't much of anything. So I hope someone gives an opportunity. He's a young player; he could still grow and develop, and maybe he can become a serviceable role player somewhere else if another team gives him a chance and he gets in the right system. But I don't know. But he's got a chance to go play somewhere else if somebody's willing to give him an opportunity. But it just didn't work out. Tampa Bay gave him an opportunity, didn't work out. It is what it is. So yeah, that's just how it goes. Ravens should get Tyler Huntley back and cut Devin Leary. First of all, we're going to cut Devin Leary in the first place. Second of all, the Ravens don't like to keep 3 quarterbacks. They usually keep 2. I'm not saying they don't occasionally keep 3 quarterbacks, but I'm not going to lie, they usually like to keep 2. They wouldn't mind keeping 3 quarterbacks, but they usually like to keep 2. So, and with the way the roster is this year, where they got to stretch things thin because there's so much talent here, the Ravens might actually just go with 2 quarterbacks. And if they go with 2 quarterbacks, it's going to be Lamar, of course, and Cooper Rush is going to be the backup. So I don't think Tyler Huntley is going to end up back on the Ravens. Now, if the Ravens do choose to keep 3, I could see a situation where they go get Tyler Huntley and bring him back to Baltimore. But I think because the amount of talent they have, they need all the roster spots they can get. This is going to be very tough to cut this team down. This was a very talented unit they brought in for training camp. So it's going to be tough to make these cuts. And if they need all the extra spaces, they'll go with 2 quarterbacks for the season just to make sure they can keep. If it comes down to them having to have an extra space to be able to keep all 3 of those undrafted guys I talked about, Keon Martin, Jay Higgins, and Ruben Lowry, if they got to keep those 3 by making sure they have 2 quarterbacks, they'll do it. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm predicting they're going to have 2 quarterbacks this year. I just think they're perfectly fine with Cooper Rush as their backup, and they don't need a third solution. But if they're going to, Tyler Huntley could potentially be here. What's going on, Brian? What's up, my guy? I'm still not sure of what to make of Trenton Simpson. I thought Jay Higgins looked more like a natural linebacker out there. Trenton Simpson, honestly, none of us know what to make of him. But I'm going to give him credit for how he played in the preseason. At least based off of what he showcased, we at least got to hope that what he did on that field, especially against the Commanders on Saturday, if he could take that and produce that in the games, there's going to be no problems. But if not, just know there's other guys behind them that showcase what they can do in this preseason. So it's up to Simpson to step up to the plate. Is this the time he takes a step? We're going to see. If not, there's others behind him that absolutely produce in the preseason that can take that spot. Do you think Jaire plays week 1? I don't know. But I'll emphasize it again. If Jaire does not practice on Monday, if he's not out there on the practice field next Monday, he's not playing against the Buffalo Bills. That's just how I see it. If he's not out there for Monday's practice next week, he's not playing against Buffalo. Simple as that. I did a 53-man prediction for each team, and I just followed the format. Google said so. Google said. Oh, Google said so. Not what the team might actually do. Okay. Yeah, we're deep enough at cornerback to overcome Jair's absence as well as Chidobe Awuzie. But it's concerning that he's still dealing with the same injury after so much time's missed. Yeah, I mean it's a lingering injury that he's dealing with. It's concerning, but again, we paid $4 million for this guy, so again, we knew the risks. We knew the risks that we were dealing with, so it's not like it's a huge surprise. It doesn't come as shocking. Nobody's sitting here thinking, "Oh my God, I'm lost. I cannot believe this is happening." I mean, we knew the guy had a lengthy injury history. We knew what we were signing up for. This isn't a shock to anybody. This isn't a surprise. We knew this was ultimately going to be the situation we were going to deal with. So because of that, we have these other guys here, and I'm not surprised. So it is what it is at the end of the day. It is what it is at the end of the day, but yeah, it is concerning that he's still dealing with it. Hopefully, it doesn't become a problem to the point where he misses significant time. But even if he does, as long as he's good to go for the playoffs, we're fine. Yeah, I heard the news about Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson finally ended the holdout, so now I'm a little concerned about the Bengals defense. It won't be like the Commanders game, I don't think. Yeah, I mean they'll probably have a little bit. They'll have a pass rush. They'll have somewhat of a pass rush, but they're still not good. Like again, one player isn't going to save the entire defense. As great as Trey Hendrickson is, that secondary still stinks. The linebacking core isn't the best, and overall, the pass rush past Trey Hendrickson is nothing. If Hendrickson didn't play, you have nothing to look towards. But with Hendrickson out there, you have somewhat of a pass rush. Man, Sam Hubbard, if he didn't retire, they would at least have something else there with that too. But it's just Hendrickson there now, so it's just like, yeah, and I wouldn't say Trey Hendrickson is that great to the point where you'd be a lot less concerned. I'd still be very concerned about that defense because their secondary can't cover. They have a terrible secondary. Their linebackers aren't great. So good luck trying to stop anybody. Trey Hendrickson is at least going to get to the quarterback, but he's not going to win that matchup every single time. And when you're in the AFC, when you got to deal with Lamar when you're in the AFC North, when you got to deal with Lamar twice a year, that's also going to be tough. And then just in the AFC as a whole, you're dealing with Lamar, you're dealing with Allen, you're dealing with Mahomes. All those guys are mobile and can move out the way. So it's not like Hendrickson's going to win every single matchup. And even if he does, Lamar's elusive enough to get out the way. And Josh Allen's going to run through people. And Mahomes is very sneaky in how he's able to elude people in the pocket. So yeah, that defense is still problematic. it's not much to really look at there in terms of the aspect. They're just not a good defense. Hendrickson's there to help them at least have a pass rush, but they still aren't a good defense. They're going to be cooked throughout the year. Now maybe these guys see all of us trashing them and maybe they step up to the plate because of pride. For Bengals' sakes, I hope that's the case. But based on what we've seen and what we've assessed from this defense, they're going to be just as bad, if not worse, than last year. And that doesn't really help their case in terms of making the playoffs and trying to win a championship. I'm excited to see how Zach Orr does with the defense this season. Yeah, I like what he's done. I like what this defense really did in the preseason. 32 points in 3 games and 7 turnovers forced in those 3 games. Translate that to the season, and you're going to see some great stuff. You think Higgins or Buchanan will be linebacker 3? If Higgins makes the team, I think he could be it. I think Higgins could be linebacker 3 because he plays fantastic. But also, Teddy Buchanan's got the natural gifts. So I think either one of those guys could potentially be linebacker 3. But I hope both of them are going to be on the team. Chiefs are terrible in the preseason, but it doesn't affect them. Yeah, because they don't care. It's not like their starters are out there. When their starters are out there, usually it ends with Mahomes scoring a touchdown. And then it goes back to the sideline for the rest of the game. Who do you think's the starter for the Saints will be? Don't matter who it is. I don't know. I have no clue. If we're gonna assess training camp and assess the preseason game, then my answer is I don't know. I mean, we saw the performances. There's not much of a difference between Spencer Rattler's performance and Tyler Shuck's performance. There's virtually no difference. Who do you go with? I'm not gonna lie. At the end of the day, the week of practice, I think you announce it on Thursday. The Thursday leading up to the week 1 Sunday games, that's when the coach got to announce it. Wait to the very last minute to announce it. You gotta assess this from now until like Tuesday of next week when these practices are happening. Whoever looks better in practice that can run the offense better in practice, I'd go with that. In all honesty, it's probably gonna be Spencer Rattler because he's at least been here longer than Tyler Shuck, so he knows the offense a little bit better. But there's literally no difference between performances. You're cooked no matter what. So take your pick. Take your pick, New Orleans. Take your pick. You don't have anything here. If they can salvage the defense, they should use the backups who I think did better than the starters. The backups look nice, but you have to remember they're also going up against fellow second and third and fourth stringer guys that are fighting for their jobs and guys that aren't going to be on the roster. There's a huge difference between going up against fellow backups and then taking on starters. So again, it's cool that some of the backups were playing well and making stops, but it's not much to see. I mean, yeah, when you were watching the Bengals secondary do well against Sam Hartman, that's cool to see the defense making stops against Hartman, but that's Sam Hartman. You're going to be facing off against Lamar twice a year. You're going to be facing off against Aaron Rodgers if he's still got something left. And you're in the AFC where again you got to deal with Mahomes, you got to deal with Burrow. You're still going to have to see you deal with Justin Herbert being here, still dealing with CJ Stroud. Like there's way too much talent from the quarterback position and talent just offensively for me to look at those backups and say, "Oh, well, they're obviously going to get it done." I mean, I hope they can perform well if you need to call up on them, but I mean, that's not much to really look at in terms of their performance in the preseason because again, they're not going up against starters; they're going up against second, third, and fourth stringers. So it is what it is. Do I think the division is going to be easy? Just easy to win. Just beat the Steelers. The Browns are trash, and the Bengals got no need. I mean, we could always assume winning the division is going to be easy, but at the end of the day, the Browns have if what I've seen, I'm not here to gas nothing. But what I've seen and the reports I've seen, what I've seen from the preseason, the reports I've seen as well, that Browns defense may have returned to form. If that Browns defense returns to 2023 form, they're going to be a tough team to beat. I'm just telling you this right now. If the Browns defense returns to form, if they return to that 2023 look where they were the most physical defense, I'm telling you, if that defense is returned to form, they're going to be a problem to deal with. They still won't win the division. No one's sitting there and saying they're going to win the division, but yeah, they're gonna do damage. They are gonna do damage, man. They are gonna do damage. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Besides Hendrickson and maybe Logan Wilson, the Bengals have nothing. Like I said, Sam Hubbard really shouldn't have retired. They need him right now. They really, really need him right now. Ay. Yeah, Cam Taylor-Britt's good. He's pretty decent. He's pretty decent. Saints' successful season will be 6 or 7 wins, but I think Kellen Moore will be good for them. We'll see what happens with the Saints. Honestly, again, they got like I said, 10 days before the season opener, before the season opener for the NFL because the Cowboys and Eagles play on Thursday night. So 10 days before the season starts, 13 days before the week 1 Sunday games happen. So the Saints have 13 days to figure this out. Essentially, you have 10 days because by Thursday, you should announce who your week 1 starter is going to be. So they got about 10 days to assess this and figure out who they're going to put in. It's again going to probably most likely be Spencer Rattler because he's been here a little longer and understands the defense a bit better. But we'll see what happens. Do you think so I'm trying to put this right here. Do you think Aaron Rodgers is still good? I think we're gonna beat him down, and I think he's going to get hurt. I'm not going to assume he's going to get hurt. Okay, I'm not gonna assume that Aaron Rodgers is gonna get hurt. And I don't think we're gonna just quote unquote beat him down. I hope we beat him, but I don't think we're gonna beat him down. I think Aaron Rodgers can still throw the football. He's just not the same guy that was winning MVPs in 2021 and 2022. That time is gone. But I think he can still throw the football. Now, do I think he's still good? That's a tough question. I feel like that's a loaded question. He was with the Jets, and the Jets as a whole, they were kind of a mess. They had talent, obviously, with Garrett Wilson out there, and he asked the guys he wanted was the guys he got. He ended up getting Devontae Adams. He wanted Devontae Adams and all these other guys out there. He ended up getting the guys he wanted, but it just felt like the dysfunction from that team as a whole was suffocating him. He's in a better situation than Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh's gonna find a way to win 9 to 10 games every single year just so they can keep that win streak going with Mike Tomlin. So I think they're gonna be a team that's gonna try to compete for a playoff spot the way they always do. I don't see too much of a difference between Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, though I think Russell Wilson over the last few years has played a little bit better than what Aaron Rodgers has produced. But still, I don't see too much of a difference. But yeah, I don't. I think he's still good enough to at least throw the football well, and that's all the Steelers need. They've carried corpses to the playoffs. They've carried literal quarterback corpses to the postseason. It's kind of just what they do. So that defense will carry them to 6 wins at the very least. You just gotta hope your quarterback's good enough and the offense is good enough to get you like 3 or 4, and maybe you sneak in the playoffs. Joe Flacco as well knows the Bengals defense. Yeah, Joe Flacco knows the Bengals defense. Joe Flacco was also never good against the Bengals defense. Do you actually remember Joe Flacco as a Raven when he went up against the Bengals defense? You do realize Joe Flacco has a losing record against the Bengals. You do understand this, right? You do realize out of all the teams in the AFC North, Joe Flacco played his worst football against Cincinnati, and I don't know why. I'm hoping that won't happen come week 1. But again, as a Ravens fan, a long-time Ravens fan, I was here before Flacco became our starter. And when Flacco got drafted from '08, go look at it, from '08 to 2017, I don't know what it was. Every long-time Ravens fan can attest to this. Joe Flacco was eating against the Browns. Joe Flacco at times would go toe-to-toe with Ben Roethlisberger. Joe Flacco would get cooked by the Bengals. And I don't know what. We had conversations about what the Bengals defense was reading and seeing in their film room leading up to the game. Because Joe Flacco, for some reason, the Bengals always had our number. And I remember this. Every time Flacco stepped foot on the field, that defense read him like a book. That defense read him like a book, and I hated going up against the Bengals because of 2 things. One, that defense that I knew was going to read Joe Flacco like a book, so you knew he's probably going to throw a pick. And then 2 was AJ Green. Oh my God. So, hey, Joe Flacco versus the Bengals, historically, that has not been a great matchup. We've won games, but it has never been easy. It has never been easy. Damn, I'm trying to figure out what was Joe Flacco's best game against the Bengals. I'm actually looking at it right now. His best game, dude. Joe Flacco completed just under 60% of his passes against the Bengals in his career. His best performance against them. Wow. I mean, the best, man, 2012? In Cincinnati, he completed 72% of his passes, 299 pass yards, 2 touchdowns. I think 2012 was probably his best performance against them. He had 2 great performances against Cincinnati in 2012. Huh. Well, actually, wait, no, okay. No, sorry. This, okay. The other one was the 2011 season leading into 2012, so that was the final week of the 2011 season. That was just before. I think we got the 2 seed that year. Yeah, Joe Flacco, he's put up good performances against Cincinnati, but that defense usually, bro, post Super Bowl, that defense was cooking us, dog. When they got AJ Green and moved off of Carson Palmer and said, let's go draft Andy Dalton. Once Andy Dalton and AJ Green came into the conference, bro, we couldn't beat Cincinnati consistently. Oh my God. Oh boy, I ain't gonna lie. So yeah, Joe Flacco versus the Bengals. Yeah, good luck with that. He knows that defense, but that franchise certainly knows him. Though this is going to be this ain't Marvin Lewis. This is. You know, we ain't gonna talk about him. He's not my head coach. Good luck, Cincinnati. Is Aaron Rodgers washed? That's a fair question, and based off of what we've seen over the last few years, it feels like you could say that. But he still has something left in the tank. The war you would want you want to see the Saints go winless? Again, at the end of the day, Saints aren't gonna be a great team. They're just gonna fight. How much you want to bet the Browns beat the Bengals week 1? I don't have to bet much. I honestly, if I was to pick an upset of the week, Browns over Bengals, upset of the week. Joe Burrow, for some reason, does not play well against that Browns defense. They actually have his number. He has a losing record against Cleveland. I think he's beaten them. Let me see. I think he has 2 wins against them. Let me see. Joe Burrow's record. No one talked about this, but Joe Burrow's record versus the AFC North is terrible. Let me actually pull this up here. Like, nobody talks about this. Everyone wants to focus in on certain aspects of certain players because why not? You know, let's focus on Lamar Jackson versus the Steelers, but let's not talk about Burrow versus the entire AFC North. I'm pulling them up right now because I want to pull up his versus the Browns, the Ravens, and the Steelers. And somebody got to explain this to me, how Joe freaking Burrow has records against all these teams. He might have a 500 record against the Steelers, but his records against the Ravens and the Browns, especially the Browns. So I want to pull it up right here. So let's see. Joe Burrow's career against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Joe Burrow is 4-3 against the Steelers because he did end up winning that final game. Because he was 3-3 against them, he won that final game. So Joe Burrow against the Steelers is 4-3. Joe Burrow against the Ravens is 3-6. Joe Burrow against the Browns is 3-5. Someone got to transfer Joe Burrow to the AFC West because he's actually done better against that division than his own division. But again, when you have a terrible defense, that does play a role into it. But no excuses here. Everybody has problems here and there. When Lamar didn't have talent at the receiving core, no one wanted to help him with that. They told him go win with Seth Roberts, and oh my god, they told him go win with Seth Roberts, Chris Moore, and freaking Seth Roberts, Chris Moore. I didn't forget their names. Miles Boykin, Devin Duvernay, James Prochet. Y'all were telling him to go win with these guys, by the way. Y'all told Lamar Jackson go win with that. We ain't go for a year. Just because we got Flowers here and Bateman's doing his thing and you got Likely and no. Y'all told him to go win. I'm not feeling no sympathy for none of these other quarterbacks that's dealing with whatever. Y'all sat here with a straight face in Greg Roman's system. Not anyway, Ravens flock. Y'all know what I'm talking about. All the outsiders sat here with a straight face in Greg Roman's offense and said, Lamar Jackson, go win with Seth Roberts. Lamar Jackson, go win with Chris Moore. Lamar Jackson, go win with Miles Boykin. Lamar Jackson, go win with James Prochet. I'm not going to feel sympathy because Burrow's got a bad defense. Go figure it out. When we said Lamar ain't got nobody to throw to, y'all said figure it out. Go figure it out, Joe. Lamar was throwing to that and still made the playoffs. Figure it out. Only time Lamar's missed the playoffs has been the 2 years he got hurt. And prior to him going down, we were the number 1 seed in the AFC and the number 3 seed and leading our division. Oh, yeah, Michael Crabtree. Oh, yeah, he had Michael Crabtree his rookie year, though. That was rookie year Lamar, and we know rookie year Lamar was incredibly raw. He also had John Brown. He had John Brown, Willie Snead, and Michael Crabtree. That was the receivers he had his rookie year, which, again, were the receivers we brought in for Flacco, which somehow, I don't understand how the season turned so much, bro. Oh my god, I don't understand how the season turned so bad. Y'all remember? I hate when the Ravens do this. I've been watching some old Ravens games. Last night, I was watching the old highlights from the 2016 season. Dog, I completely forgot we started 3-0. We missed the playoffs in 2016. We started 3-0. But if you go back and look at those games, man, our offense was so terrible. Jordan Lasley, he didn't even make it. No one will ever forget the legend of Jordan Lasley. When he punted that football, his career was done, and we knew it. But yeah, the 2016 Ravens. Oh my god, I hate that offense. I hate that offense. Jaleel Scott is another one. That's another good one too. I hate that offense. I hate that 2016 offense. Y'all want to sit here and talk about Greg Roman. Greg Roman and his offense was terrible, but at least they were good at something. Somebody explain to me what Mark Trestman was good at. Like, dog, Mark Trestman's offense, I remember crashing out after the Bears game in 2016. Also, I hate 2016 because of the curse of the tens. Any longtime Ravens fan remembers the curse of the tens that occurred during the 2016 season. If any of you guys, longtime Ravens fans, at least if you were here before the Lamar Jackson era, you remember the curse of the tens that happened during the 2016 season. God, I hated the curse of the tens. Mark Trestman, oh my God. You know, I'm getting some bad memories. I'm going off course here. I am going off course here. I'm not supposed to be talking about. Why am I talking about Mark Trestman in 2016? And why am I talking about the game between the Ravens and the Bears in 2016? I think I crashed out. When did I crash out? I crashed out multiple times. I crashed out after the Bears game. I think I crashed out after the Jets game. Y'all remember the Giants game too? The game where Odell was getting shut out in the first half, and then in the second half, he had a 75-yard touchdown, and then had like a 60-yard touchdown on 4th and 1 on a slant because I think Tavon Young and Tavon Young and Eric Weddle like crashed into each other, and then that just left Odell wide open. Oh my God, Mark Trestman might have been the worst coordinator we ever had. That guys, I get we want to get on Greg Roman's case. Greg Roman is poison to this franchise right now. But for some of you newer individuals, y'all don't know true pain until you got to watch a Mark Trestman offense. We won week 1 against the Buffalo Bills when Tyrod Taylor was a starter there. And it was a 13-7 win. Dog, we couldn't, offensively, we were terrible. We were 3-0 to start the season, and we couldn't score. How did we? I went back and watched those highlights, bro. Oh my God. Oh my God. Mark Trestman's offense made me crash out of my cousin's house. Watching that Bears game was the worst experience of my life. Mark Trestman's offense. Oh boy. Well, Jim Caldwell was already on the team. I believe he may have been the quarterback's coach or the passing coordinator. Cam Cameron was the offensive coordinator. Jim Caldwell was still there. I think they just promoted Caldwell. Roman was horrible too. Even that 2019 season, you could see his scheme was going to get exposed eventually. Dog, Roman had his bad moments, and no one's gonna forget that. But dog, if you were here to watch Mark Trestman's offense, we couldn't move the ball. we at least Greg Roman's offense could run the football. Mark Trestman's offense didn't do anything. I'm not even joking. We would get Mark Trestman's offense. No, we didn't play. I might be thinking about 2017. It might be 2016 or 2017. I'm trying, or maybe 2015. Which game was it against the Bears? I might be thinking 2015 instead. It's either 2015. I'm trying to remember which year, because it was Mark Trestman's offense that made me crash out. Did we have Mark Trestman for 2 years? Was Mark Trestman after Kubiak? Because Kubiak was here in 2014. For anyone, I may be mixing the years. Gary Kubiak was here during the 2014 season. That was the best year of Flacco's career as a Raven. 2015, Gary Kubiak goes to the Broncos, wins a championship. I believe Mark Trestman was our coordinator for 2015 and 2016, and then they fired him. Yeah, and then they fired him, and then they brought in Marty Morningweg for the 2017 season. So we had Marty Morningweg for 2017 and 2018. We had Mark Trestman, I believe, for 2015 and 2016. I'm not fully sure about that aspect, but Mark Trestman, I think I might be talking about the 2015 game against the Bears. I'm not fully sure. I'm trying to remember. Let me pull this up. We are going off track with this, but if it feels like I'm just talking about old games, let me actually see if I can pull it up. Yeah, it was 2017 instead. Okay, it was 2017. It was 2017 instead. And we lost that game. We were at home. It was some complete BS. And I remember crashing out at my cousin's house. But yeah, that Mark Trestman offense was terrible. Oh my God, that Mark Trestman legit might be the worst offensive coordinator we've had in franchise history. Okay, he might be. Not saying he is, but he's up there, bro. And I remember everyone sitting back. That really hurt getting Mark Trestman and watching our offense go into garbage mode. And then we watched Gary Kubiak. Oh my God. What made it worse is we lost Kubiak. After 2014, we lost Kubiak, and then we lost Owen Daniels. And I think Owen Daniels also went to Denver and they won a championship. Oh my God, I'm sick. Oh my God, I'm sick. I'm sick remembering this stuff. I'm not supposed to remember some of these things. Marty was horrible. There was some decent moments, though. There was some decent moments with Marty's offense. There was some decent moments, but oh my God. That Brian Billick and baller head coach quarterback combo was nasty work. Yeah, I don't even know. We all knew when Kyle was drafted. There was some blatant optimism, but he wasn't gonna do much. I was a kid at that point, but even I knew he was trash. I'm watching him play. I'm like, I don't think this is how you're supposed to play the quarterback position. He looks bad. Brian Billick's offense was horrible outside of our rushing offense, courtesy of Jamal Lewis. Part of that just has to do with the fact that we didn't have a quarterback. Again, I'm not sitting back and saying the offensive coordinator was great. The offense stunk without Jamal, but we didn't have a good quarterback. And if you don't have a good quarterback, I don't care how good of an offensive coordinator you have. If you don't have a good quarterback, you can't do anything. We didn't have consistent quarterback play until Flacco pulled up in 08. We did have a great year in 06, which again, oh my God. How did we lose the Colts in 06, man? McNair had one more good year in him, and we lost. What wasn't it, 18-6? We gave up like 6 field goals to the Colts. That 06 defense doesn't get the credit because that 06 defense was debatably as good, if not better, than the 2000 Ravens defense, and they had no chance to prove it because we couldn't score. We were like 13-3 in 06. Peyton Manning couldn't find the end zone, and we lost that game. It was not 6 field goals. It was like 5 or 6 field goals. We couldn't score offensively. Oh yeah, I found it too. Look at this. Look at this nonsense, bro. Look at this. McNair was horrible in that game. I remember that as a kid, and I'm like, dog, Peyton Manning's Colts in 2006 won the Super Bowl. We should have beaten the Colts in 06. We literally should have beaten the Colts in 06. We were 13-3 that year. That defense was arguably as good, if not better, than the 2000 defense, and they couldn't prove. They held Peyton Manning to 5 field goals, and we couldn't score. McNair picked. Oh God. RIP to Steve McNair. We appreciate what he did that season, but damn, McNair he unraveled in that game. I'm pulling up the stats too right now. Bro, look at this. How did we lose this game? Peyton Manning, 15 of 30, 170 passing yards, 2 interceptions, and we couldn't win because Steve McNair. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. That was a defensive game. But dog, and we couldn't run the ball too. This is disgusting, bro. Oh my God, I didn't even realize this. Steve McNair had 3 turnovers. He fumbled the Todd Heap also fumbled the ball. I don't remember Todd Heap fumbling the ball. But Steve McNair also fumbled the ball. God. Steve McNair unraveled in 06, bro. He was done, bro. Yes, 2006 fell apart when McNair's arm gave out. He couldn't throw the ball. Like I said, he was out. At that point, he was done. We all knew he was done, and it was just like, damn, we should have beat the Colts that year, bro. Oh my God, we should have beat that Colts. We were 13-3. Jeez. Okay, I'm sorry, man. We going off a tangent. This is supposed to be a countdown for Week 1. And instead, it's down memory lane of pain for the Ravens. Remember in 2013 Bears Ravens, and there was a tornado in my state that day. That was an interesting game, too, against Cutler. As a Colts fan, I haven't had a quarterback since Peyton Manning in 2010. I don't count the wasted Andrew Luck years. I mean, those were some good years with Andrew Luck. Y'all just wasted them, but it was some good years with Andrew Luck. Still remember the playoff game against the Chiefs where y'all made that comeback. That was still fantastic. What happened to McNair afterwards was very tragic. RIP. You're right about that. You were absolutely right about that. A lot of people don't talk about Vinny. You were all right, Maurice. A lot of people don't talk about Vinny. They just didn't have a defense. They didn't have much talent. They didn't have a defense. They were terrible. They were terrible, but you know, man, if we would have had Vinny in the 2000s, could have done something. Could have done something. And I got to answer some of these other questions before we wrap up a few things here, because I've been here for an hour, and I'm getting ready to wrap things up for tonight. We started going down memory lane. I wanted to finish off some of these questions because y'all were asking. Y'all got me started because y'all started talking about Joe Flacco against the Bengals, and it just went off for me talking about old games. Because I was just watching the 2016 Ravens last night, just watching some old highlights. There's some losses that the Ravens have suffered that I just never like. It's just implanted in my brain. So like again, I y'all can say whatever you want about the Lamar Jackson there. I can point to some losses that we really suffered that I'm like, damn, nah, this was worse. I want the Browns to be a playoff team, but realistically, I can see a 9-win team at least. Close. Used to love Rodgers. He was my favorite quarterback. Not anymore. I don't wish him luck since he went to my division. Yeah, Ed Rodgers used to be one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch. Browns defense got to be the 2000 Ravens defense to make the playoffs. I mean, if they're the 2023 Browns defense, they'll make the postseason. You got the same quarterback that took you to the playoffs. Anything can happen. We have a tough schedule, but I expect we'll be in the playoffs as usual. We have a talented roster. Can't afford to self-destruct in the playoffs again. Windows closing with each year. Tough schedule is really the first. I mean, prior the first 6 weeks is where our tough schedule is. After we get off our bye, we should be fine. Aaron Rodgers' best years are far behind him. He's gonna end up putting up crappy Neil O'Donnell numbers when it's all said and done. He'll put up random numbers. It's gonna be a weird season for him. Will I stream the Brazil game? I will look to see if it depends if I'm here. I may look to if I'm here, but I don't know. I can't confirm anything about my streaming this year. But we got a lot happening, so maybe I will. Yeah, Flacco didn't do well against the Bengals. Marvin Lewis had the defense better than what they had now. I mean, they had some dogs on that defense, though. They had some dogs in the crazy. They had a wild guy. Just Bengal fans, y'all remember the Vontaze Burfict days? Oof, we remember those days. We remember those days. Now the Bengals have a better AJ Green. Yeah. So if you ask me, I still fear AJ Green more than I fear Ja'Marr Chase. That's just a personal. AJ Green did damage to us, man. AJ Green caught Hail Marys against us, bro. I mean, the talent, no question, Ja'Marr Chase, from a talent perspective and a skill set perspective, is better than AJ Green. But AJ Green, man, it didn't even matter, bro. It didn't matter who we put on AJ Green. It didn't matter if we double teamed AJ Green, bro. It was, the person that at least did the person that did the best work against AJ Green was Jimmy Smith. But even so, there were just times where it's just like AJ Green was just gonna go off, and we knew. And Andy Dalton would just keep force feeding the hell out of the ball to AJ Green. He just kept making those catches. Now I still remember the game. It was like what 17-10. Oh, threw a Hail Mary, and it's just like knock the ball down, tip it up in the air. Of course, freaking AJ Green's just left alone in the end zone by himself, catches a touchdown, ties the game. It's just like, ugh. Remember the Bills' cupcake schedule and having to play their hardest opponents? Ravens, Chiefs, Bucks, Bengals, and Eagles at home. Yeah, they do get that. Good for them. I could care less about what the Bengals do schedule-wise. I'm focused on us. Is Joe Flacco the oldest quarterback in the AFC North as a whole? No, that would be Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is older than Flacco, and he came in the league 3 years before Flacco did. Because Aaron Rodgers was drafted alongside Alex Smith in the 05 draft. He just sat for 3 years. So no, Aaron Rodgers is older than Flacco. Is he actually? Let me see. Is Aaron Rodgers older than Flacco? He should be. He came in the draft before them, but sometimes you could come into the draft young, and then other guys can. Let me see. I am for sure. Aaron Rodgers like what 42, 41, and Flacco's like. I'm for sure it's Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. It's still Aaron Rodgers. Flacco's 40, Aaron Rodgers 41. So it's Aaron Rodgers. I don't think the Ravens' 30-year history they've had paid a wide receiver highest money like these other teams because they've never had a Pro Bowl wide receiver they haven't even come close to getting an All Pro receiver. So, Zay Flowers just broke the mold. He became the first wide receiver in franchise history to go to the Pro Bowl. So, yeah, take that as you will. Did Loop make y'all forget about Tucker already? Tyler Loop is doing well. He did well in training camp. He did a fantastic job during the preseason game. I mean, he hit from 61. He hit from 50 multiple times against the Commanders. I love that. Was a perfect end to the preseason for Tyler Loop. I can't wait to see what he's gonna do in the regular season. Again, he's a rookie. He's gonna have some hiccups here and there. We understand what we're working with, but give that man time. Reason Manning won a Super Bowl with bad defenses. Why can't him? Those defenses did step up in the postseason though. They were not great regular season wise, but postseason wise, those defenses did step up. They did step up, not completely though. I mean that, but again, Manning was low key handing the game to the Patriots in the 06 AFC Championship game. He just got his crap together, but I mean it doesn't help that he was throwing picks. These guys aren't even coaching anymore except Roman with the I mean, no one's taught Mark Trestman's out of football. So yeah, most of these guys, Marty, I ain't heard about him since he left the Ravens. And of course, we know Marvin Lewis hasn't been coaching in a while. Side note, Ray Rice's career was on an amazing trajectory. Yeah, it was. That's life. Peyton Manning's Colts, and yeah, they won the Super Bowl in 2006, just beating them, but it is what it is. So Scary Terry finally got paid. Yeah, saw the report today. Terry Rozier got his money. Commanders are good to go. Time to focus on the Giants. Let's go beat them, boys. Remember that Broncos Ravens game in 2022? Yeah, I'll do you one better. Remember the Broncos Ravens game week 1 of 2015 when we knew our season was over? T Sizzle tore his Achilles. Let me stop bringing back old games. Oh man, I remember. Y'all remember the 2015 game against the Broncos and the Ravens? It came down to like a line. We were at the goal line. We needed to score a touch. I believe we needed a touchdown, the 2-point conversion to tie that game. Oh man, that was. I should not be bringing up old games. And then T Sizzle suffered that season-ending injury week 1 in that game, and everybody knew we were cooked after that. Afterwards, injuries galore. And we started the season 0-3, despite the fact that everybody was trying their very best to help us, bro. Did I say Terry Rozier? I meant, oh God. Sorry, I was looking at, if I said Terry Rozier, my apologies. I was looking at some stuff involving my Miami Heat, which I don't want to talk about. And yeah, Terry Rozier got him. Terry McLaurin. If I said Terry Rozier, sorry, I'm a Heat fan. I was looking at some stuff with the Miami Heat race today. Just don't worry about that. Let's move past that. Let's not talk about the Heat. But yeah, my mistake. Terry McLaurin. Signed, paid, all good. Let's go beat the Giants. Yeah, he was pretty much dealing with a lot of injuries before he retired. It was not a good aspect. He was battling through those. Worst Colts game I watched was Super Bowl 44 against the Saints. Still bad we can't even do surprise onside kicks anymore. That literally won a Super Bowl for the Saints, but no, we don't get to do that anymore. Football's getting unfun. It's getting less and less fun because of some of the dumb things they're taking away. We can't do surprise onside kicks. It's supposed no, you gotta tell us you're gonna do an onside kick and then let the team prepare. Part of the fun about an onside kick is it can happen anytime, any place. You could start the game off with a surprise onside kick. I'm pretty sure there's been games that have started with a surprise onside kick. A moment that literally won a Super Bowl for a team, we can't even do that anymore. Hate it. Absolutely hate it. Absolutely hate it. Without the Manning brothers, Brady would have been double digit on rings. Probably. Because, I mean, they would have certainly beat that Bears team in '06. Flacco's 11-11 against Pittsburgh. Those games were literally a toss-up. True, but at least he went head-to-head with them. He's under 500 against Cincinnati. Jimmy Smith was an underrated corner. Yes, he was. Just wish he would have stayed healthy. Only thing I got to say for Aaron Rodgers is that if you make it to the AFC Championship, don't lose. Don't be the first quarterback to lose both NFC and AFC Championship games. Pittsburgh making it to the AFC Championship game. That's a good joke. Luke better than Jake Moody. That's for damn sure. I ain't gonna talk about whether or not Luke's better than this guy or that guy. Let's just see how he does come week 1. Saints defense was only good because of Bounty Gate. Again, I said I didn't give you the reasons. I just sat back and said that defense stepped up in the playoffs. We don't need to revisit why they did what they did, but they stepped up in the playoffs. We don't need to talk about the motivation that led to them stepping up in the playoffs, but they stepped up. Peyton Manning's Broncos through. Yes, I remember what happened. We don't need to relive that. We don't need to talk about what happened in 2013. At the end of the day, it was clear that they were just out for blood. We had just, not like 6 months prior, we had ripped the hearts out of every Broncos fans. We ripped the hearts out of every Bronco fan's chest because they fully believed, which again, go ask Bronco fans how they felt about the 2012, 2013 Broncos. I've heard Broncos fans for years say that was the best team they had. The 2013 team that went to the Super Bowl, it wasn't like it was great, but it wasn't as complete as that 2012 team. That team was going to win the Super Bowl. And we came in and said, nope. That 2012-2013 team that we beat in the playoffs, that was the most complete Broncos team in the Peyton Manning era. And we beat that team. And Broncos fans will never let us live that down because they sat back and said for a fact they were going to win the Super Bowl that year because they had everything. From offense, defense, special teams, they had everything. It was a miracle we were able to put it off. RIP to Jacoby Jones. But yeah, that was the most complete team Peyton Manning had in Denver. And even though they got to the Super Bowl in 2013 and Peyton Manning had the best year of his career statistical-wise, it still didn't match up to the complete team that they had in that 2012 year that we beat. So yeah. But yeah, Peyton Manning had to let that aggression out because they were going to win a Super Bowl that year. John, I actually don't know. I actually don't know. Legitimately, I don't know. I wouldn't have the answer to that. Max Dover in the Colts uniform and Cordell Stewart in the Ravens uniform was the absolute worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Ay, you're not wrong. You are not wrong. You think Martin makes a team? Oh, I was here saying this. Um uh Purple City, I sat back and said this straight up. Keon Martin, Jay Higgins, Ruben Lowry. If it was up to me, those 3 make the team. But realistically, 2 of the 3 are going to make the team. So I think Keon Martin, I think he ends up making it, but I don't know. I just don't know. I hope he does. I would personally say all 3 of them make it because they've done more than enough throughout the preseason and training camp to prove that they should be on this roster. But that's how the case is. Which coach you believes in the hot seat? Oh God. Zach Taylor could be an interesting one, but I doubt the Bengals want to fire him. I think Zach Taylor could be in the hot seat. If they miss the playoffs again with Joe Burrow healthy, that's when you're really going to look at him and say, oh, yeah, he might be going. Many believe Kevin Stefanski's on the hot seat. I'm not sure if you would say Kevin Stefanski would be on the hot seat. Shane. What's his name? Shane Stice? Is that his name? Or like Shane Steichen? The head coach for the Colts. He's on the hot seat for sure. He might be fired at the end of this year. So that could absolutely be the case. So there's a few people that's on the hot seat. Mike McDaniels on the Dolphins. That's an interesting one. That's a very interesting one. If they miss the playoffs again, that could be a conversation. Yeah, Shane Steichen. That's what I was thinking about. I'm like, Shane Steichen. Yeah, he is on the hot seat. He's probably going to be fired. Most likely. Yeah, RG3 did start. That was the 2020 COVID year. He started that game against the Steelers on a Wednesday because we were supposed to play on Thanksgiving, I believe. and that got moved back. So yeah, ended up playing a Wednesday game. It was weird. Why didn't we play week 2 at home in 2013? We won the Super Bowl. Still don't remember. I don't remember the reason either. I do not remember the reason. I do not remember the reason. And yeah, I remember when that was getting delayed. I miss the old CBS and Fox scoreboards back in the day. I'm not gonna lie, man. The scoreboard, they unveiled that. It's with the times. It's modern. But I'm not the biggest fan of it. I'm not gonna hate on it and say it's trash because I don't think that's the case. But I'm not a huge fan of it. I miss the old CBS. I miss the old Fox scoreboards. Those scoreboards I grew up on. I miss those. But again, times change, and as times change, we begin to adapt. As technology continues to advance, things adapt. So I understand they're gonna make those changes. But I miss the old school. The like again, I've sat back and said this. I still love football. I'm still going to root and support my Ravens, and I'm always going to continue to watch football throughout my lifetime. That's just how it is. But football now is not the same as football in the 2000s. I feel like the 2000s was the last time football felt like football, and somewhere in the 2010s, things started to change with football. Once those they started really implement. I remember 2016 is when they started. 2016 or 2017 is when they really started to lock down. Where they're like, oh, you can't sack the quarterback this way and land on him. They started doing all this other stuff, all these rule changes. And once that happened, I sat back and said it when I was in high school. Oh, they're starting to change some of these rules, man. It's going to change the game we love, and it's going to make it so that offense gets the advantage over defense. And look at us. Here we are now. That's just how it is. Still love football. Still my favorite sport to watch. Still enjoy it to death, just like basketball, but it ain't the same as what we grew up with, man. It's not like football. Football in the 2000s was different, man. When you had a low scoring game in the 2000s, it was a gladiator fight. It was a war. It was a battle. Two high level defenses going toward the 2008 AFC Championship game is one of the greatest games I've ever witnessed. It's one of the greatest games I've ever witnessed. It's one of the greatest games that's ever been played. You can't play like that anymore. You cannot play football like that anymore. So back then, when you had low scoring games, it's because it was a battle between defenses, a battle of wills. Nowadays, when you get low scoring games, it's because two offenses stink so bad they can't score. Like the offense is so trash. And even though the defense is good and making plays, it's more so the offense. If you've got a low score, if we get Thursday night football games, if we get low scoring Thursday night football games, it's because the offenses stink and the teams are trash. But back then in the 2000s, you had some awful stinkers, obviously. Anyone remember the Miami and Steeler game? I think it was in the rain. It was horrible. I think it ended like 3-0. That was not a good game. We had stinkers back then, but man, when you saw a defense dominating, we really could appreciate that. We can't appreciate that now because you can't play defense like that now. That's why anytime people mention the 2000 Ravens, I keep telling y'all it wouldn't make sense to talk about the 2000 Ravens in 2024 or 2025 or whatever year we're talking about it. You can't play defense like that anymore. People talk about how would the 2000 Ravens look like in the 2024 season or the 2025 season. How would they look like today? Completely different. Completely different. You can't play football like that anymore. It's completely different. It's completely different. Colts Broncos 2022 12-9 was awful. Yeah, it was. 2013 NFC Championship game was really good, but nothing touches that '08 AFC Championship game. It's one of the greatest, if not the greatest AFC Championship game I personally got to witness in my lifetime, and it's also the most painful loss as a fan. Nothing beats it. Okay, nothing beats it. Nothing beats it. Like I was saying, that game was. I'm not saying it was their fault. Like I said, I was talking about they were in a storm. They were in a storm. It was horrible. I remember one of the kickoffs. The ball just I think it was a punt or a kickoff. The ball just landed in the dirt. It just stuck there. It was a horrible game. But yeah, in my lifetime, the '08 AFC Championship game was the best game I've seen in my lifetime, and it's also the most painful game I've ever experienced. That's why when anyone wants to talk about, oh, how'd you feel about the last year with Mark Andrews, dropping the ball? How did you feel about Zay Flowers fumbling the ball at the goal line? Those are some painful moments. Those are some painful losses. They are. They are. They are. But nothing's worse. Oy. Oy. Sorry, I just saw something here. But yeah, people every time people bring up some of the recent ones, which I'm not saying these aren't painful losses, they definitely hurt. But nothing, dude, nothing is worse. Me as a Ravens fan, anytime someone's like, "What's the worst loss or the most painful loss you've experienced?" A lot of us longtime fans will sit back and say 2011. I look at John say 08 was the most painful loss. Yeah, and some of the recent newer fans that are in the Lamar Jackson era will talk about, oh man, that loss in the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs, man, fumbling the ball that year. Fumbling the ball that year and everything. That's worse. You want to see real pain? Watch Mark Andrews drop the ball at the goal line. That's real pain. You want to see real pain? Watch Zay Flowers get the ball punched out at the 1 yard line. That's what some of y'all newer fans will bring up. Dog, nothing was worse than watching Flacco throw that ball towards Troy Polamalu's direction. If we time slowed down and everybody's like, Flacco, don't throw that ball. He throws it. And then Polamalu picks it off. It still sticks with me to this day. Polamalu picks it off, and everybody in that stadium knows if he takes this to the house, the game is over. If you were watching the AFC Championship game, neither team could really score on each other. So every Ravens fan understood that even though Polamalu picked the ball off, it was 16-14. If Troy Polamalu picks that ball off and somebody just gets him down, our defense can hold Ben Roethlisberger to 3 points. All we gotta do is get Polamalu down. Our defense will hold them to a field goal. There would still be time left. And of course, this is a tall task because you're going to ask a rookie Joe Flacco at Heinz Field against the #1 defense to go score a touchdown to take us to the Super Bowl. There's no way he would have pulled that off. Let's keep it a bean. I'll put Flacco in the Hall of Fame right now. There was no way even if we would have made that stop on the interception, there's no way a rookie Joe Flacco in Heinz Field against that #1 defense was going to take them down the field and score a touchdown to take us to the Super Bowl. That was not going to happen. We all knew that. Which is why when the interception happened, we probably knew the game was over. But the hope could still be there that somebody can make a play. As long as you get Polamalu down, Ray and the defense will deliver. They will stop Ben Roethlisberger. They'll kick the field goal. It'll be 19-14. We can win this with a touchdown. But then Polamalu said, I wanted to go to the Super Bowl. I want to go to the Super Bowl and I want a ring. That man ran it back and took it to the house. And as a kid, that still sticks with me to this day. The most painful moment of my life as a Ravens fan was watching Flacco get picked off by Troy Polamalu, take it to the house, and then Jim Nantz starts talking about Super Bowl 43. Oh my God. I hate that. Oh my God. It's just Polamalu taking it. He's getting blockers. All of us screaming, just take him down. Somebody tackle him. Somebody tackle him. Flacco tries to go. Nope, misses him. Polamalu to the end zone. Jim Nantz starts talking about Super Bowl 43 and Pittsburgh might have punched their ticket, and I'm crying. That is why no matter what you tell me about pain with this Ravens franchise, nothing's worse than that. At the end of the game, Ray Lewis was on one knee like this. No, listen. Zay Flowers fumbling the ball. That's pain. All right? That's painful. That's painful. We don't like the Chiefs. That's painful. Mark Andrews dropping the ball against the Bills. That's painful. Dog, I can't. I can live with those. I can live with those. Nothing was worse than that because you have to understand The Ravens and Steelers rivalry was it's just one of the best rivalries in the NFL. It's one of the best rivalries in NFL history. It's one of those legendary rivalries in sports. And what you need to understand about the '08 season was that was like someone said it here too. I'm trying to remember who said it here. Yeah, John. That was a rebuild year because it was a new head coach. We had just moved off of Brian Billick, and you got a rookie quarterback in Flacco. And yet we got there, bro. We got to the AFC Championship game against that team. And the thing you got to remember about '08, we lost to these guys. We didn't beat it was a close game, but we lost to them on a game-winning field goal in Heinz Field. And I know. I'm trying to still remember if I pull up the play. I gotta pull up the play. Let me see. I'm not gonna show it here. I just want to remember if that's the. It is. Please let me know. Yep. It's that exact play. It's that exact play. Let me see. I was absolutely right. It's that exact play. Which, yep. This is, I was remembering. Y'all gotta, if you went around during the '08 season, what made this mean so much is because we were trying to earn our respect in this division. We had already earned it, but the Steelers were the face of the division, and we wanted to show we could compete with them. We finally felt we got a quarterback in Flacco to do so. But if you remember that '08 season, we didn't beat the Steelers in '08. We went to Heinz Field and lost on a game-winning field goal, but we competed with them and stayed in the game. We competed with them and stayed in the game, and it looked like we could compete with the Steelers. We can do this. Then the Steelers come to Baltimore, and we got a chance to beat them. And I don't care what you got to say to me. I hate this man, Santonio Holmes, for what he did to me as a fan. Okay? That man made me cry. Okay? That man made me cry when he stole a ring from Larry Fitzgerald. But that's a different conversation. Santonio Holmes did it to us in Baltimore. I don't care what anybody says. I will go to my grave. You know what happened about the play. Any longtime Ravens fan, if you know what I'm talking about, that wasn't a touchdown. His feet was, I don't care what you got to say. His feet was in the end zone. It crossed the pylon. His feet was there. Where he caught the ball, he was half a yard short. I don't care what you got to tell me. Santonio Holmes was half a yard short. They reviewed it and said it was a touchdown. The ball did not cross the damn line. It was half a yard short. We lost that game. I'm not saying I'm not saying they don't end up winning. It would have been half a yard, but that defense could certainly make a stop at the half-yard line. But that wasn't a touchdown. I don't care what anyone Steelers fan would tell me. That wasn't a touchdown, okay? Santonio Holmes, his feet were in the end zone where he caught the ball. You look at it, he was half a yard short. But they ruled it a touchdown. So we lost in Heinz Field. Pittsburgh came to our house and beat us in the 13-9 slugfest. And then we go back to Heinz Field for the AFC Championship game. And then what I just said happens. Most painful loss in franchise history. Most painful loss in franchise history. It's not the most shocking loss. Obviously, Billy Cundiff is probably the most shocking loss in franchise history. Honestly, I'm not even really holding Billy Cundiff because all he did was miss a kick. All he did was miss a kick to tie the game. Lee Evans had the ball in his hands. We were going to the Super Bowl, and Lee Evans couldn't catch. That's all I'm saying. Everyone want to talk about y'all keep talking so much about and then we still talk about it occasionally. You know, anytime I talk about it with my dad, we still talk about it. That's terrible. But yeah, y'all want to talk about Billy Cundiff missing that kick, dog. We were supposed to go to the Super Bowl, and Lee Evans had the ball in his hands. I don't know what possessed him to not secure the ball while you're in the end zone, but he just chose not to secure the ball. It's in his hands. He catches that we're going to the Super Bowl. Whatever. But yeah, that's probably the more like shocking loss. But in my opinion, the most heartbreaking loss was the '08 AFC Championship game. We were trying to prove a point, and that was a moment to do so, to really establish ourselves. And it didn't get better from there, bro. We lost the Steelers again in 2010. We lost the Steelers in 2010 in the infamous Antonio Brown game where he emerged as a star. Which again, I don't understand. I don't understand how we let Antonio Brown get behind the entire defense on the 3rd and 19 play. I'm sorry. I'm going off. I'm just going off the rails. I gotta end this here. It's 11:35. I just wanted to talk about week one, and all of a sudden I got us reminiscing about the old days. I'm just saying, a lot of y'all complain about some of these losses we suffered and talk about real pain. Y'all ain't really experienced the pain that we've suffered as Ravens fans. If you've been here as long, I'm not saying y'all don't deal with the pain. We all gotta deal with pain as fans. Okay, you're gonna have some tough losses. But I'm gonna be honest, man. Some of the losses that we've suffered in the postseason is not as bad as y'all want to emphasize it to be. That Chiefs one sucked, but again, we were down 10. Okay, we were down 10. We were down 10 when he fought when we were down 10 when Zay Flowers fumbled the ball. It wasn't a guarantee we were gonna win. We were in the fourth quarter at that point. And with Andrews one, it is bad. It is bad. And him not catching the ball is also bad, but I don't know, bro. if Andrews catches the ball, there's still like a minute and a half left, and I'm pretty sure Buffalo had timeouts. They could have gone and won the game on a game-winning field goal. So it's not the same situations as if like Zay Flowers throwing the ball on the goal line that cost us in the AFC Championship game is not the same as Flacco throwing a pick six to Polamalu in a 16-14 defensive game that basically determined, oh yeah, if Flacco throws that pick right there, the game's over. If he throws a pick six, the game's certainly over. So that was different. We still could have got back in that game against the Chiefs if we just calm down. Even after the fumble, just calm down and move the ball slowly, we could get in the end zone. We panicked. Lamar threw that pick into triple coverage. That's all she wrote. But Flacco throwing that pick to Troy Polamalu, that was the game. That was a season right there. And then when Mark Andrews dropping a pass the following in the division round last year, it's not worse than freaking Lee Evans having the Super Bowl berth right in his hands and he doesn't cradle the ball. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm going about the pass. It's just someone started bringing this up and here we are. But I do have to wrap this up. I do miss some of these conversations, but I do have to wrap this up. I think it's because someone started talking about, hey, man, they don't play defense like that anymore. But yeah, let me finish some of this. Oy. I believe AI can make a better scoreboard than Fox or CBS today. Hope all is well. I'm ready for the Bills. Yeah, we're gonna get on the Bills next week. We're gonna talk about that and do our prediction videos. Them battles with Pittsburgh back in the day were epic. The hate was at an all-time high for both sides. Oh yeah, man. You knew it was bad. I remember T Sizzle broke Ben Roethlisberger's nose. He broke his nose. I mean, it was brutal. Some horrible hits. Oh my god, some horrible hits. Ryan Clark gotta pay for some of those hits. That dude was a bona fide crash out. Y'all be seeing him on ESPN and y'all be clowning him for some of his takes. That dude was a bona fide crash out. He gotta pay for some of those hits he took. No, some of those, not some of those hits he took. Some of those hits he delivered. He gonna have to pay for those hits, bro. He gonna have to pay for those hits. He gonna have to pay for those hits, bro. He owes some of our players some apologies, bro. Some of those hits were insane. Like Troy wasn't even hitting people like that. That man was just going out. He was a bona fide crash out, just trying to kill everybody out there. Some of those hits that Ryan Clark was delivering, bro. He owed people apologies for those hits. That was nasty work. It was Bart Scott who. Oh, okay. It was. Whose nose? Okay, I know. T Sizzle broke somebody's. Okay, it might have been somebody else. It was Bart Scott. Okay, Bart owes Banner apology for that one. I could have sworn it was T Sizzle that broke his nose. Or maybe he was the one that drove him to the. You know what? Never mind. But yeah, I appreciate some of those. I appreciate some of those because I occasionally there's so much history that sometimes I'm gonna forget who exactly caused which injury. I don't keep up on injuries, but I could have swore it was T Sizzle. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong person that T Sizzle injured. I might be thinking of the wrong person. Let's see. Anthony Richardson, I believe, is in the same circle as Mitchell Trubisky. Not a lot of the COD starts, but it really shows. And now Mitch is a backup, and Daniel Jones is a starter over AR. Yeah, yeah. It's best of luck to Anthony Richardson though. Best of luck. I don't know how that situation is gonna go at the end of the day. It was yeah, I'm not sure how things are gonna go for Anthony Richardson. Best of luck for him. I don't know how the Colts are gonna handle this. Are they really gonna develop Anthony Richardson, or are they gonna look to move forward with another guy and try to see if they can get someone in the draft? I don't know what the Colts' plan is at this point. Antonio Brown was one of the worst cases of CTE as after Vontaze Burfict hit. That hit was brutal. I thought you were going off again. Man, I can go off on 15 tangents about the past. Like I said, a lot of these current day Ravens losses, they're annoying, they suck, they piss me off. But again, I grew up with some really heartbreaking losses, especially in the postseason. So it's not like it's not like any of the current stuff I'm seeing from the Ravens affects me. We used to go through that. We got through once with Flacco and one in 2012, but we've had some heartbreaking losses. We've had some annoying losses. We've had some losses piss us off. Hey, at the end of the day, Lamar and the offense at times, Lamar and the offense, not Lamar, Lamar and the Ravens as a whole, they've had some blunders in the playoffs, but you know what's really annoying? Blowing two 14-point leads against Tom Brady and the Patriots in New England. We blew two 14-point leads against the Patriots. I don't know what the defense was doing that game. They got embarrassed on a trick play that ended up resulting in a touchdown drive for the Patriots to get them back in this. We had these boys down by 14 twice, and we couldn't beat them. That's worse than 90% of the playoff losses we've suffered with Lamar. Blowing two 14-point leads? Nah, 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 nah. So yeah, I can go off on a million losses. I can go off on so many different losses the Ravens have had as I was watching a kid growing up. So like, I can go off on tangents, but I'm not gonna do that here. But yeah, a lot of these nowadays, a lot of the losses the Ravens suffer, it doesn't really affect me as much as that. It's still annoying, still pisses me off. I'm a fan of the game and stuff like that, but like I grew up with some really brutal Raven losses, so I'm kind of used to this. I hope the Ravens do break free and win a Super Bowl this year, but I'm used to the pain. It's just the 1 year we broke free. I hold on to that for dear life. So 2012 is always going to be a magical year for me. Who do you think are the next four finalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame induction next season? My four are London Fletcher, Pat Swilling, Jesse Tuggy, and Brian Mitchell. I don't even know the candidates that would be up for the Hall of Fame next year. I would actually have to take a look at the list for guys that may be up or maybe considered for that. So I wouldn't know. I ain't doing the 100 men or one gorilla challenge. I'm giving it to the one gorilla, man. I'm not going to test a gorilla. Those were dark moments, John. You are correct. Oh man. All right, guys. I am going to end it here. I went on a tangent. This was only supposed to be a brief talk about the countdown leading up to the season, which we did talk about. It was also a brief recap to talk about the preseason game that happened against the Commanders, which we also talked about. It was also some news aspects to just speak on some of the injuries and some of the guys that may be in and out. I'm glad we covered everything before we went on this tangent, because we just spent like 45 minutes talking about this stuff. Probably actually, I don't know, we spent an hour going into this conversations about old school stuff and old school losses and stuff. Ravens have really suffered. I'm not gonna lie, we talk about this aspect of the Ravens choking games or the Ravens just blowing games that they shouldn't. This has always been here. Y'all like to put this on Lamar and say, "Oh, Lamar's a choke." No, no, no. This is how the Ravens have lost games they have no reason losing under John Harbaugh. Go look at the John Harbaugh era from '08 to where it is now. I can I can come up with a list of games that we had no business losing. I can come up with a list of games that we lost that we have no business losing because we were leading in that game. We've choked games away. We've blown leads. We've lost in embarrassing fashion. That was all throughout the John Harbaugh era. Y'all just think some of this choking that we had happened in the Lamar Jackson era? Dude, we gave up a 3rd and 19 in the 2010 divisional round. We blew two 14-point leads to the New England Patriots at Foxborough in the divisional round. We've been choking before Lamar got here. Our franchise has a lot of choking moments. This isn't a Lamar thing. This is a thing that's been happening under John Harbaugh. That's why when a lot of us have talked about John, and everyone's like, what did he do before he won a Super Bowl? Yes, he did. He finally broke free and got one. Congrats. I'm glad he got it on Ray Lewis's last ride. It was fantastic. It was miraculous. It was a miracle of a storyline year. But you take off that Super Bowl run and you talk about all the other stuff prior to Lamar getting here, the amount of choking we did, it's a different conversation. Y'all want to put all that choking aspect on Lamar and say he's the only reason and he's the one at fault. And I sit back and say, nah, dog, this has been happening with John Harbaugh for quite some time now. You think we just magically missed the playoffs for 3 straight years? I mentioned this like 45 minutes ago. We started this 2016 season 3-0. We started that season 3-0 and missed the playoffs. Y'all been talking about the Ravens choking away regular season games and playoff games with Lamar, acting like this is brand new. If you've been a long-time Raven, you've seen us choke games we have no reason to choke with Flacco and John Harbaugh as our duo. So I don't know where y'all getting this aspect that this started with Lamar. This has been happening for the Ravens for a while now. We've had a lot of heartbreaking losses in our franchise. We have 2 Super Bowl rings, it's great, but we've had a lot of heartbreaking losses, and we've had some choking performances prior to Lamar stepping foot in the league. We've had those with John, so if I really sat here and broke that down, you'd understand why the Ravens' choking habits that we're seeing right now is just a product of what they've been dealing with in the John Harbaugh era. Lamar is part of the issue, but he's not the main issue. This is a team issue, and it's been happening under the John Harbaugh era for a long time now. The difference is we've never had this level of talent at quarterback before. So when you have one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but you still have the same issues you had when you had Flacco here, now you start to see those problems. When you have a Joe Flacco here and the choking's happening, people are going to say whatever they want to say. Y'all remember when people talked about us being the worst team in the league one week, and then the next week we'd be a great team, and all of a sudden, oh, the Ravens are dangerous. Y'all don't remember those days? You know, some of y'all ain't been here that long enough. Some of y'all got here when Lamar came here, so y'all can't relate to this. All you need to know is that for some of y'all newer individuals that came in when Lamar came in, all you need to know is this aspect of choking games, it did not start with Lamar. It did not start with Lamar. This has been here. It was here with John. It was here with Brian Billick. The Ravens have been choking games as a whole. Let's not forget, we used to be the Browns. We still got some of those Brown energies in this franchise. It's still lingering. We've choked games we shouldn't choke. We've choked games with Brian Billick. We've choked games with John Harbaugh. This ain't just a Lamar thing. This is a thing that's happened within our franchise. And as a franchise and a team, we've got to overcome it. It's not just a Lamar thing. We might do a discussion video about that. We might do a live stream about that one day. But everyone got to understand it's not just the Lamar thing. Lamar plays a role in that. His turnovers play a high role in that. But it's not just Lamar. This has been happening before that man even stepped foot in the franchise. It's a team thing. It's a franchise thing. It's happened with both our prior head coaches, the one we have now and the one we used to have. This is something the Ravens have been doing for decades. So understand it's not just the Lamar thing. It's a franchise thing. But despite some of the choking, we've won 2 championships. Hopefully we get a 3rd one this year. Anyway, guys, I'm going to sign off. It's almost 12 o'clock. It has been a long time since I've sat here with you guys and streamed and talked for 2 hours. It's been a long time since I've done that for just a basic discussion. We do this when the regular season happens. I'm supposed to be on break right now. Not break. I'm supposed to be preparing. I'm doing my preparations for the season. I'm supposed to be preparing right now, so I should get back to doing that. But you guys enjoy your night. I enjoyed this. It's been a long time, man. I missed this. I really missed this. I could have used this, man. I really could use this again. Missed you guys. Really missed doing this. So glad football's back. 10 days, guys. This is going to be 12 soon. It's going to be 9 days until football kicks off. So everybody, enjoy the rest of your night. I will see you guys later. Stay tuned. We got some content coming out this week because we got to make some record predictions. We're going to talk about the Ravens. We're going to talk about all the divisions, AFC North, South, East, West, NFC North, South, East, West. We're going to make our predictions, have some other discussions just before the season starts. And then next week, stay tuned for the preview video. So, yeah, guys, enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to head on out of here and go to sleep. You guys be sure to stay safe and peace out.